Hello everyone, Schwarzfiat here, and welcome back to the world of Antiqwaria. Now today we're going to take our first look at the Alivians, but before we do that, I want to show you kind of all where everything is in this world. Now we started out here in the city of Delakai. Technically the starting point, or spawn point, was around in this area here. We came over here, discovered the city of Delakai, which is owned by the Elishai. North you have the Tampo village. And then north of that, you enter into the Minoso territory with their capital city of Sandstrom, their mine, then their northern city of Karla. Then this is the road they're working on that I showed you in a previous video. And here's where their under construction fort is. Now as far as where everything else is in the world, here we have the Dindo Research Center, pretty far south. And then to the southwest of Delakai, we have the Great Ocean, where we are beginning, you can't really see it because it's underwater, but we're beginning to build an underwater city, which will take a lot of work. And I've kind of been exploring a little bit. Not too much, though. Still have not found a jungle. But basically what I'm doing with the overland map, I'd have to change a couple things, is all the NPC villages that don't have a road, I kind of have them grayed out. Well, not all of them, I haven't actively been doing that for everyone. But basically what I intend to do is, once it has a road connection to each nation's capital, then it'll be lit up for the waypoint. As you can see here, bright white. Down here, it's not lit up. Eventually this is all going to be Elishai territory. Basically swamps, plains, great hills, and unfortunately no jungles. Still have not found a jungle. But alas, in time, then the area all north is going to be the Minosos country. Which leads us to the Alivians. The Alivians are much, much further north, in the land of the Alivian deserts. This has yet to be fully explored because, well, it's massive. I mean, it doesn't look like much looking at the overland map, but from the Alivian desert down to Delakai is, I think, a good couple miles. At least takes like 3 or 4 days journey just to get there walking. But here we have the desert of the Alivians, their capital city of Khan al-Jihar. Then up north we have the Sini, their capital of Dujai. And you may notice these here, the village of Feki and Gishpa. But you'll notice that it says destroyed, and it looks a little bit different than the other ones, and that's because it is, as it implies, destroyed. Now, this all ties in well with the lore of the land, because according to the ancient legends, the Sini and the Alivians were at a great war, and as the Sini were dominating the empire, legend has it that Alivia struck the land with such fire and heat in a desperate attempt to kill the Sini, but it also did major devastation to the land, turning it all into an entire desert. And, according to the legends, the remaining Alivians that once survived scattered to the winds and formed small villages over time. And it is believed that the sun goddess Alivia went into a period of mourning at the devastation that had to be unleashed, yet she still maintained a fervent guard over her people as they began to rebuild, but the ruins of the desert still remained as a sign of the once great empire. However, as they began to rebuild and come together again and swarm fall villages, their enemies, the Sini, saw once again that they were ripe for the conquest, so to speak, and emboldened by their own god, they decided to charge in and attack the lands of Alivia once more. However, there was just one problem with that attack this time. Not only did they have the wrath of the sun goddess to contend with, but the followers of her sister, the water goddess, also joined in with the Alivians to defend them. Those, of course, being the Elishai, and the Elishai were and still are the fiercest warriors in the entire planet. As a result, the Sini basically met their match. Now, with regards to the legends around the First War, we'll never truly know what exactly happened. However, in the Second and final war, we know exactly what happened, as it is going to be well documented in the halls of history for all the nations of the land. Essentially, the Elishai forces began to move up from their lands after a several days' journey, bringing up a massive army. The Sini were unprepared for the Elishai military forces and underestimated them heavily. And in this area here was the first great battle between the Sini and the Elishai, with a victory for the Elishai. The Sini forces, suffering defeat, pulled back to their outpost at Feki, and the Elishai quickly followed them and destroyed it in a very brutal battle that left none alive on the Sini. Now, emboldened by their victory at Feki, they began to move north towards what was once the capital of the Sini Empire. Now, the Sini believed themselves to be invincible, given that there had their city on a peninsula. The problem is, the Elishai like water, they worship water, so breaching the water was of no problem at all for the Sini, and they began to be devastated. But they also worked with their Alivian brothers and sisters to construct a wall to barricade the city, and while the Alivians held the line, preventing Sini reinforcements from reaching the city, the Elishai launched a massive amphibious assault. Within a few days, the city was just completely destroyed, and the Sini's will to fight on along with it. For the devastation of seeing their capital city fall, and the knowledge that they now stood against not only the Alivians, but the Elishai as well, they essentially gave up. A formal peace treaty was signed, or a ceasefire, whatever you want to refer to it as, and now they've pulled back, nursing their wounds, and only time will tell what they do from this point on. But regardless, the military efforts against the Alivians have stopped. This is, of course, the perfect opportunity for the Alivians to rebuild their empire. So with that stated, that brings us here to Khan al-Jahar, which the Alivians have designated as their newer capital, as it is the closest city that they have to the Elishai and Minoso. And this is the area where we are here. So let's take a look at what exactly we're seeing here. So you have the city of Khan al-Jahar, and then over here we have our current location. So let's just take a look at what we got here. Now essentially what I'm doing in the lands of the Alivians is going around and finding all the desert ruins, because as you can see, I've kind of got desert ruins written everywhere. And when you look around in the desert, there's a bunch of sandstone blocks and all that everywhere. And basically what I'm doing is, when I find these, I try to envision the structure that I feel once existed there, and basically build around where the sandstone blocks are to create new structures as they rebuild their empire. In addition to that, I'm also working to terraform the land, because according to the legends, it was once a very fertile land, and we want to make it that way again now that the war is over. So we are essentially going through with all the dirt blocks, removing the sand, using it to create sandstone blocks, and then placing dirt back down and letting grass slowly grow over. Additionally, we've taken Acadian wood from the savanna and are beginning to replant it here so that we can then have forest. And due to all the bones from the skeletons that we obtained, turn it into bone meal, plant it on the grass, which will allow grass and flowers to regrow in the land. It's going to be a monumental effort revitalizing the desert, but I think it's ultimately going to look better. I'm sure it's probably impossible to terraform the entire desert, but my goal is to at least terraform the areas and make them full of grass and trees and plants all around the buildings and stuff that I build. But this structure right here is one of the first ones we've built in the Alivian territory, and it's far from complete, but basically, as you can see, it's essentially a cactus farm. Again, we still got more work to do down there, but sandstone blocks are kind of hard to come by. But here you can see our water fountains, and this is essentially a bathing area. And eventually we're going to have a wall to hold back all the sand. Then let's take a look inside. This was originally a great opening, and like I say, I saw the sandstone blocks along the walls, so once again, I tried to envision the structure that once existed here and then built upon that. This is just a simple bedroom. This is the inner part of the cactus farm to grow some indoors if needed. And this, of course, is just an exit to the mine area. And here are the pillars to reinforce the area above, so that nothing falls through. And of course, this is the other exit. So nothing too fancy, but I think it's turning along really well. Now before I continue, I want to remind everyone of basically what I intend this series, World of Antiqwaria, to be, and that is a vanilla Minecraft survival series. Now the only mod, like I say, that I use is the map mod, because obviously, but no other mods are implemented into the game. And I don't have any problem with mods or people using them. It's just I put a lot of work into my very first world and lost it all, roughly 400 hours of work, because the mods crashed the game so bad that even the backups saves didn't even work. Not having that happen again. And naturally, I just love survival. The only time I use creative mode is when I'm building a new city, and every time I build a house, I'll use creative mode to spawn a villager egg to create one villager for every house I make. But anyways, with that reminder stated, I want to get into what this is over here. Like I say, you can see that this is not lit up yet because I want to try to do it to where unless it's linked to the capital via road, it's not lit up. And so here we have that road and the construction of our bridge. Now I'll admit this looks kind of ugly because the wood doesn't really go well with the stone according to this texture pack, but I don't really care too much. I'm basically building for practicality, and Acadian wood is what this desert is capable of producing, so we're working with what we got. And this is our in-progress roadway all the way to the capital. Still got a lot of work to do, but again, it requires a lot of sandstone. But I think I have the right concept. It's just the orange blocks of the Acadian wood don't look that good, I admit that, but as far as the concept of the bridge itself, I really like it. It's got its sandstone support beams with torches, and then wood underneath supporting the weight of all the stones to ensure a very steady and safe bridge. And there's eventually going to be pillars and columns up on top of that. That's why there's no fences covering those areas. But it, like a lot of stuff I build, is a major resource undertaking. But yeah, there's that. But on the topic of major resource undertakings, when you look at how far the Alivians are from the Elishai, it's quite staggering. Like I say, it's at least 2 miles, if not more. And that is where we get into the great project of the Alivians. Now, we mentioned the great projects of... Actually, I don't know if I want to consider it just a project of the Alivians. It's more a project of all 3 nations working together, and that is the construction of a massive road to connect the regions from here all the way down to the Minoso and Elishai capital. So all 3 nations are working together because the Minoso have a scattered village up here of Ptah that would also like to be linked to their capital. So the plan is to construct a massive roadway. And I honestly think that this is going to take more work and time and resources than any building I've ever built, or probably ever will build. Simply because it's, again, a 2-kilometer-mile road. But every nation is using their specialty. The Alivians are supplying the digging and the tools needed for everything. The Minoso, being masters of forestry, are naturally cutting down all the trees in the way, and the Elishai, being masters of stone production, will go through and provide all the stone to finalize the road once it has been completely dug out. But yeah, we haven't got too far, and we only have to go... Yeah. Should be fun. But anyways, everyone, that's it for now. Hope you liked this first look at the Alivians. Even though I may be taking this all a little bit too seriously, but I don't care. I still think it's fun to play a Civilization style way, and of course, I just like seeing what all I can accomplish in vanilla Minecraft, and survival, of course. Oh, anyways, this has been Schwartz Fiat. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day.